Hi, I'm Cole with Piranha Score Productions, and I'm going to be showing you how to be a better GM, a better DM, a better referee for your tabletop role-playing games. And we're going to do it with this book right here, Along the Ley Line Referee's Toolkit. And inside, I'm going to be teaching you some things that you can take away and use in any game, no matter what the system that you're running. You don't have to be running along the ley line, but if you do run along the ley line, this video will really help you out. Let's jump in. Okay, the first thing that you can do to help your game be more engaging and be better is to advance a threat. Don't leave the world a static place where nothing happens unless the players do something. You want to be presenting problems to your players so they have something to do. We call this advancing a threat. Now, ideally, you have a list of things that you can use that your bad guys or your other actors in the story are going to be doing when the players aren't there. When the players aren't around, they don't do anything, they still have their agenda. And if the players don't act, then the bad guys go through their agenda. And you don't have to come up with tons and tons of things. A quick 3-step list for what your bad guy wants to do will work out perfectly fine. Like if the bad guy wants to build an army of zombies so they can then invade the town and then become Lich King, well, that's the 3 things they're gonna do. They're gonna build their army zombies. So maybe the players learn about that the bad guy wants to build their zombie army. So then they go out and they try to stop him. And if they don't try to stop him, then he gets his zombie army and he invades the town. And if the players don't then go and stop him from invading the town, then he takes over the town and he becomes the Lich King. So it can help your game just by making sure that you advance a threat. That you say if your players don't do anything, then something else is going to happen. And it doesn't have to be super grand like a Lich King trying to get a zombie army. It could be something minor, like the glass at the edge of the table keeps getting pushed closer and closer to the edge by the cat that's playing on the table. This isn't like a super deadly threat, but it will keep the players engaged. Like, oh, their glass is getting further and further to the edge, and it creates that suspension. It creates that tension that you need in a game. So advance a threat. The second thing you can do as a GM, DM, referee is present something new. Change the game. You can move the party forward and backward in time, usually just forward in time unless you're playing a time traveling game. So then you can move the players forward in time if you need to skip through some things. A lot of games and a lot of GMs have been doing this with travel. If you know that travel is going to be boring, skip it, move to the other thing. And along the ley line, we use random tables every time characters go through a travel experience, and that way something new will happen. So even if you run the adventure multiple times, they're going to be running into these random encounters, and it changes the game significantly, giving the games a lot of replayability. If you want to check them out, check the links below. But every single time a character does something, you can present something new that's happening in the world around them. You don't just have to go through all of the threats step by step. They can see something new as they walk around. How many times have I said see something new and not giving you examples? So encounter tables are what you want to look at. There are tons of encounter tables around the interwebs that you should go and check out. But ideally, you want to have these encounter tables be specific to the situation that you're in. In the adventures that I write, all of the random encounters are specific to the adventure and tie in with the adventure somehow and in some way. You might run into an orc along the road and they are harvesting or trying to harvest spider silk, and that ties in with the story that you're currently in, where you're going out to rescue people who are harvesting spider silk. This is one of the adventures, Silk for the Weaver. You can get it on DriveThruRPG, link in the descriptions below. The third thing that you can do, and this is pretty obvious, is attack. You can do something directly to the players that they have to deal with right in this moment. Now, it could be like combat directly, or if you're playing a different kind of game, you could just have a different character confront them and you're going on the offensive. And I highly recommend this in combat-centered games like Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, and Along the Ley Line, so that whenever characters come in and you don't know what to do, just throw a monster at them. And that will make the game interesting because they're going to have to fight. And if it's a combat game, that's what they want to be doing anyway. So when in doubt, pick the third thing, go to combat. The fourth thing that you can do is ask a question. And this is a really great thing to do, especially if you want to dig into role-playing. This would be the meat of a storytelling game. If you want to know how the characters are feeling, you have to ask the players how their characters are feeling and give them a space to talk about how they're feeling. This is a great thing to do after an event, after you advance a threat, after you went through combat, after you presented something new, to follow it up with, hey, you specifically ask the players their name, how is their player character feeling in this situation? So you might say, hey Amanda, how is Taylindra feeling in this moment? And then Amanda can tell you how Taylindra is feeling. And if the players are really intuitive and they're listening to this and they're tuned in, then Amanda's going to give some interesting insight to Taylindra and how she's feeling in this moment, and it's going to elevate your game so much. So I highly recommend asking players how their characters feel. And if you don't do anything else, if you don't advance a threat, and if you don't present something new, which I hope you do, and you don't do combat, at least ask your players how their characters are feeling, which is actually a nice thing to do in real life. If you see somebody and you can ask them how they are, like genuinely, not just, hey, how are you, but hey, how are you? Well, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it helps elevate your game. Remember, you can advance a threat, you can present something new, you can go to combat, always a good option in fantasy role playing, or you could ask a player how their character is feeling and responding in this moment. So those are the 4 things that you can do to elevate your game as a GM, DM, referee. Thanks so much for watching. Share this with your friends, like and subscribe, check out the links below. Thanks so much. May all your games be full of dread.